Zang Leatherman, and as Mother told you, we lived on Pierpoint Street, and one of my greatest memories of Oil Hill was in the summertime when they oiled the roads, and they just brought in raw oil, and it really hampered us because they didn't put gravel on it or anything, and it was real difficult to get across the street to play with your friends, and so we had to be creative and throw out boards or whatever we could find, you know, and several of us stepped in it or fell in it. It was terribly hot. We burned our feet, but it was just a wonderful place to grow up.
Okay, so did you live on the Fraser lease?
No.
You lived, where did you live?
I lived on the Kugler lease.
I lived on the lease where the school was.
South of the old Tawanda Keachai Road.
Okay, all right. Now, what's your connection with Oil Hill?
Well, I went to school 1 year there.
Okay.
In the 8th grade.
They consolidated Fraser with Oil Hill?
Yeah. At the end of my...
Okay, so what we need to do is...
Back to everything that's going on.
Hang on, I remembered about this service station. It had such a sharp root on it, could split a raindrop into store right, catty corner. Yeah, it was catty corner.
It was actually gone when I...
Yeah, it wasn't there.
Then I built a room on this end and a room behind, and we got married in 38 and actually lived there for about 3 years.
Yeah, I remember you had a slot machine back there.
Probably did.
That's where you made all this money, probably.
About as risky as we got. That was pretty wild. And after we got rid of it, some people said, "Oh yeah, I remember your beer joint out there." Well, it wasn't a beer joint.
It wasn't a beer joint. Seriously.
I got the tank station, I got the milk station, and had the delivery truck.
We lived 3 houses down.
Jack Shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
You remember him? He was the piano player. And then Boombaugh from Oil Hill, from Midian, Mr. Boombaugh. He played the drums. And let's see, who was the other?
I don't know who all was in Rudy Sell's band, so.
No, I didn't know, but my dad played for
Several years.
several years there at the Doherty Men's Fraternity.
And there were style shows there too.
Had style shows? Fashion style shows?
Yeah.
Really?
My mother modeled them. A lot of them.
Your mother modeled them?
And we had election.
Where did... Two style shows? The style
showers, all in that Doherty Men's Fraternity.
All in the bridal showers.
Okay. Now, who attended the style shows?
We had a little deal with.
Okay, all right. It was just what?
And the stores in Already would, give us the clothes.
Okay. Did you have stores in Oil Hill?
No.
Okay, not clothing.
Grocery store.
Grocery store. Necessities. And then another
drugstore.
Okay. All right.
Restaurant.
Does anybody have a picture of that?
Slim had
Of a
that.
style show?
I don't remember that.
You might pass the word out and see if... Okay.
In the restaurant. Marion.
Of course, we lived out there. We didn't get to go.
Yes, but they had the one that was in the house, but there was a restaurant by the filling station, just a long, narrow one.
Right where the fire
Slim,
station
is that
was,
what you're
too.
saying?
Slim's restaurant.
Yeah. And I can't remember.
I can't remember his last name either.
Hughes used to have a grocery store up on the... Hughes, used to come in and deliver.
And on the North Wilson lease, Virgil Giving Day.
Yeah, it's on North Wilson. May Day, Memorial Day.
Hi! Grab a seat, bring it up. 4th of July with family.
The school always had a big Halloween party and a costume contest, but if you and then the promise was that if you did not trick or treat, mainly trick.
No, I didn't even know what
Then in the
trick or
spring,
treat
we would
was
have
until
another
after I got married and
And
moved to
so
town.
we'd all go to the school for the Halloween parties, and there was nothing to stop you from stopping by the neighbors and showing your costume, and they always somehow managed to have a few little treats for us. But we really didn't do anything destructive because we had this promise of another party, so.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, when did the moving of the outhouses take place?
They did it on the Gusman Lee School. We didn't consider ours a country school. It was the smaller schools, I think, that did that probably.
Oh, that brings up one point, let me interrupt.
Because he didn't think kids that should be part of their growing up, to be naughty. He thought they should be led to be true and good their whole lives, and then they always would be.
Okay, and who was this?
Frank Riesmigler.
And who was he?
Superintendent.
The superintendent.
Well, actually, we
Superintendent.
had a county superintendent.
Well, but this was the superintendent of District 36.
Oh, okay.
And-
saying no Halloween trick or
Well,
treating.
and he didn't really believe in fairy tales either. He brought up his children not to know about that kind of thing.
Oh, my.
And he was, and you see, and he also was the instigator of the church there, the community church that met in the gym.
So,
And he was the big leader.
so would you kind of compare him, and I hope I don't hurt anyone.
I would not have known that as I was growing up, but my
Okay.
mother knew it and talked about it later, how he led the whole community to be a good community.
It's my understanding, I only knew him as a junior high principal because I was later than some of these people, but stories I hear about him, I kind of think he would have been called a social progressive.
Oh, okay.
You know, in the 20s and 30s.
Okay.
And, but that's interesting. I didn't know he'd started the community church.
Well, he actually didn't. He may have started in the gym, but long before that, the Methodist Conference sent ministers to different little communities. There was a little community west of Oil Hill called Porterville, and I went to church there when I was just probably a 4th or 5th grader, and there was a small church at Midian, and
See, Reverend Ham was one of the pastors.
but she's right about Mr. Bigger starting all her and things.
How did you celebrate Christmas?
Just like everybody does.
Christmas
tree. Yeah.
Everything was centered at the school. I think
the school.
Everything had a. I wrote it in my book. We had a band,
where everybody
a bandstand, and they played march music and stuff like that on Saturday night, and everybody came because it was all lighted up down there.
All right, what kind of,
For Christmas, every year the school had a Christmas cantata.
Yeah.
And it involved the children from kindergarten through 8th grade. And so the whole community came because that's what you did in Oil Hill. It was all family and community oriented. And, yeah. And then usually Santa Claus came and you all got candy or something, you know, big sack of candy.
Sack with oranges
And the way we learned the cantata was to stay after school, and we who rode the bus, they held the buses, and we stayed after school and we practiced. I remember doing it every night, or probably it was twice a week, I don't know.
Okay.
But they held the buses and took us home on the bus.
How about the box suppers? Remember those?
Yes.
Yeah, we had lots.
all right, tell me about the box suppers.
Well, you know how they work. You remember how they work.
No, I don't.
Oh, you're too young. Well, all the girls would make up a little meal and put it in a box, and they'd raffle them off. And the guy that bought it,
Now, let's share with everybody because we want to get it all, and Renato can't do the video for us. Okay, say loud.
the fella that bought it got to eat with that girl.
Yeah.
So you went ahead and figured out who belonged to what box, and you bid on it.
Yeah, the boxes had no names.
No.
And they were too bad if the fella that bought your box, you didn't like him.
You were stuck with them, huh?
Fancied him up.
Had them decorated too.
You decorated it, but you let that certain boy know which one was yours.
Sure.
The deal was, the boy that bought this box, they'd gang up on him and bid against him, so that he had to pay a premium. And he would pay his last penny rather than let one of those other guys eat with his girl.
That's great, isn't that great? Okay.
I want to ask something about our minister. When we came there, if anybody knew his name, I forgot it.
Was it Ham?
Ham.
Colin was there?
Yeah, one of them still has a boy that preaches. 'Cause
I think Colin does.
That'd be Paulin then.
he came to our church and preached once. But you know, if we found him, he might know a lot about Oil Hill.
I think you got enough knowledge right here.
Where I went, you had Methodist ministers.
And we used Methodist paper. and we got a Sunday
But it was
school
called a
We have a
non.
minister giving us the evil finger.
No, it's the evil finger. Well, this is interesting. I just want to say, though, that in later years, there was a church on the grounds of the school, which was quite interesting. I mean, we would, when we would have recess, I mean, we would sometimes play on the steps of the church.
But I think that
And,
was a Sunday school building.
No.
They call it, yeah, because it
No.
wasn't big enough for the...
No, it was a community church. The Oil Hill Community Church, because
But we mostly had Sunday school in it.
I don't know, 'cause I didn't go.
No, this was later. This was in the 50s.
Yeah, that's when in 52.
Okay.
But it was a pretty small building.
It was a small building, but it was a community church. We had worship there, we had Sunday school. By that time, the pastor was he really wasn't a roustabout. I think he was a tool dresser on the Star rig. I'm talking about Bob McNary. And I think he started out with a Methodist license to preach, but he ended up an independent Baptist pastor eventually. And but that church was very influential in my life.
That was in the 60s.
That was in the 50s. Yes.
That was by that
Yeah.
time, the community was real small. And there was a
I
Reverend
was-
McLeod in the early 50s too.
Well, let's see, I moved to El Dorado off the Gusman when I was like 6. And so then the town closed when I was what? 12, something like that. I'm Larry Parrish.
Okay,
Wayne's
how,
grandson. Yeah.
what was the process and what was the feeling when you moved away from Oil Hill?
Left home and went to
When you moved
Everything.
From wherever you lived, what was the feeling? Because you moved from Oil Hill and surrounding areas where it's a township village in El Dorado?
We came from the 8th grade into junior high in El Dorado. I didn't like it at all.
You didn't like it, why?
Too many people that I didn't know, I suppose.
Okay.
We lost a lot of
Why did
good
you
friends.
Well, because we brought our own group with us, and we were a group all through junior high and high school and junior college.
We call the Breezy Mountains.
I call it greasy Mounders from Mounders, the greasy Mounders from Oil Hill.
Slippery Slope was another.
Slippery slope. Slippery slope. So you were you were, for lack of a better word, a little clique, but was it for preservation? I mean, because you were...
Because that's the way it
We all
was.
knew each other, our parents all knew each other, we were just more or less like a family.